All right, so are you ready to dive into the world of budget smartphones?
Always ready for a good phone deep dive.
Awesome. Today we are looking at this Lava Z2 Max.
Okay.
It's been getting some buzz because of a few things, like this huge screen it has and a battery that seems to last forever.
Yeah.
All for a pretty amazing price.
Right.
Our source material for this deep dive is a pretty in-depth review over at RechargeMyTopup.com.
That was good.
So yeah, let's jump right in.
Yeah, what makes this phone so interesting is that it's really challenging what a budget phone can be.
Yeah.
I mean, is it even still a phone at this point?
Right.
When you have a 7-inch screen.
It's gotta be like a mini tablet.
Yeah, it's like a mini tablet.
I'm already imagining watching like a whole season of something about like one train ride.
Yeah.
So with a screen that big though, what's the resolution like? I'm guessing it's not 4K resolution at this price?
No, you're right. It's not 4K.
Yeah.
It's a 720 by 1640 resolution, which comes out to a 20.5.9 aspect ratio.
Okay, so 720, I mean, is that good enough these days?
Yeah, so for like everyday stuff, like, browsing and scrolling on social media, even like some casual games, 720p is going to look totally fine.
Okay.
You're not really going to feel like you're missing out unless you're like really looking at every pixel.
Gotcha. So it's not going to be like as crisp and sharp as like a, super expensive flagship phone.
Right.
But it's not going to make you feel like you're missing out either.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about what's going on under the hood.
Yeah.
Like what's the processor, RAM, and storage situation?
All right, so you got a MediaTek Helio processor.
Okay.
Which is a real workhorse, especially at this price.
Okay.
And it's paired with 2 gigabytes of RAM.
Okay.
And then 32 gigabytes of storage. But you can actually boost that up to 256 with a microSD card.
Wait, 2 gigabytes of RAM?
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of low these days?
Yeah, it's definitely on the lower end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's enough for like basic stuff, calling, texting, browsing, light social media. But yeah, if you're a power user and you're doing a lot of multitasking and playing like crazy intensive games, 2 gigs probably won't cut it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not like a multitasking beast or anything.
Right.
But it's not trying to be.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So speaking of things that aren't beasts.
Oh.
Let's talk about this battery life because this is what I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
A 6,000 milliamp battery.
It's huge.
That's like a power bank?
Yeah, it's basically a power bank disguised as a phone.
Right.
Yeah. And most phones, they struggle to make it through a day.
Oh yeah, I'm always looking for a charger by like the afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. But with the Lava Z2 Max and its 6,000 milliamp battery, you can expect like a full day of use.
Yeah.
No problem.
Wow.
Even like 2 days if you're not using it super heavily.
A full day.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
And it also has fast charging.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So if you do manage to drain it, you can juice it back up quickly.
Okay, so battery life is like a huge win for this phone. But how about the cameras?
Okay.
So we're talking potato quality, or can this thing take decent pictures?
It's got a dual rear camera setup.
Okay.
With a 13 megapixel primary sensor and then a 2 megapixel depth sensor.
Okay.
And on the front, you get 8 megapixel selfie camera.
Okay. So, I mean, it's not going to be like an amazing camera, like, one of those $1,000 phones.
Right. Yeah. It's not going to be like a DSLR or anything.
Right.
But it's going to be more than capable for, everyday photos.
Yeah.
Social media stuff.
Yeah.
Video calls.
Okay, cool.
It'll get the job done.
All right. So how about in low light?
That's where it struggles a bit.
Okay.
You're going to get some grainy photos.
Yeah.
Not a lot of detail.
Yeah.
It's a compromise you kind of have to make with budget phones sometimes.
Right.
But, for the price, it's still a decent camera overall.
So maybe not for like aspiring photographers,
Right.
but for like everyday use, it'll work?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So with that big old screen though, I imagine this phone is a little bit bulky.
It's definitely on the larger side, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the build quality is really good though. It feels very sturdy in your hand.
Okay.
And it's got this nice textured back panel, which gives you a good grip.
Okay. So it's not like super sleek and like,
Yeah.
fits in your pocket easily.
Right.
But it's got that huge screen, so that's the trade-off.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about priorities.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Let's move on to software.
Okay.
What's the Android experience like on this phone?
So one of the best things about this phone is that it runs stock Android.
Oh, nice.
Which means you're getting pure Android straight from Google.
Yeah.
No bloatware.
Oh, that's great.
No unnecessary apps.
Yeah, I hate bloatware.
Yeah, it's the worst.
It's like moving into a new house and it's full of someone else's junk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because it's stock Android, it means you're probably going to get faster software updates.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's good for security and it's good for performance.
Okay, awesome. I also saw in the review that it has a dedicated Google Assistant button.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, that's a really cool feature.
Yeah.
So you just press that button and you can talk to Google Assistant without having to unlock your phone or anything.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's super convenient for setting reminders, sending messages, making calls, all that good stuff.
Cool. Okay, so this Lava Z2 Max is sounding pretty good.
Yeah, it's a really compelling option.
Yeah, huge screen battery that won't quit.
Right.
Clean Android experience.
Yep.
Sounds like a winner to me, but to be fair, we need to see how it stacks up against the competition.
Right. Let's bring in some of its rivals and see how it compares.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the Realme C12.
Okay, the Realme C12.
This one's like the Lava Z2 Max's cousin.
Okay.
Especially when you look at the battery.
Okay.
It also has that same massive 6,000 mAh battery.
It seems like all these budget phones are going to have these huge batteries now.
Yeah, they're definitely becoming more common.
Okay, so the battery's the same, but what about the screen?
Yeah, so it's not quite as big.
Okay.
It's got a 6.5-inch display.
Okay.
So it's still pretty big.
Yeah.
But not quite that, like, epic 7 inches we see on the Lava.
Gotcha. So you lose a little screen real estate.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, but what about, like, the overall performance and stuff?
Yeah, so it's using a MediaTek Helio G35 processor.
Okay.
Which is a little bit less powerful than the Helio and the Lava.
Mm.
It's still fine for, like, everyday stuff.
Yeah.
But you might see some lag if you're trying to play some really demanding games.
Okay.
Or if you're trying to do a ton of multitasking.
Okay.
Oh, and it only comes with 3 gigabytes of RAM.
Okay. So even less RAM than the Lava?
Yeah, even less.
Okay, so maybe not for power users.
Right, yeah. Probably not the best choice.
Okay, and what about the camera?
The cameras is pretty similar to the Lava.
Okay.
It's got that 13 megapixel main sensor.
Okay.
And then a couple other lenses for things like depth sensing and macro shots. Again, not like professional grade quality, but totally fine for everyday pictures and social media.
Okay, cool. So the Realme C12 seems like it's a good choice if you really care about battery life.
Exactly. Yeah, if you want that battery to last forever.
Okay, awesome. Let's move on to the Redmi 9.
All right, the Redmi 9.
What's going on with that one?
This one is a bit more of a performance-focused phone.
Okay.
It's running a MediaTek Helio G80 processor.
Okay.
Which is a step up from the G35 in the realm.
Okay.
And you get a bit more RAM.
Oh, nice.
You can choose between 3 or 4 gigabytes.
Okay.
So multitasking is going to be much smoother on this one.
Okay, so if you're someone who likes to have, 50 apps open at the same time.
Right. Yeah, if you're a tab hoarder.
Then the Redmi 9 is the way to go.
Yeah, this one's probably better.
Okay, cool. So how does it compare on, the battery life and the screen size?
Yeah, so the screen is 6.53 inches.
Okay.
So, again, big, but not quite as big as the Lava.
Yeah.
And the battery is 5,020 milliamps.
Okay, so a little smaller.
Yeah, a little bit smaller, but you should still easily get a full day of use.
Yeah. Okay.
No problem.
Cool. So good battery life, decent screen.
Yep.
What about the camera on this one?
It's also got a 13 megapixel main camera.
Okay.
But it has some extra lenses for ultra wide and macro shots.
Oh, cool.
So you have a bit more versatility in terms of what you can shoot.
Yeah.
And the image quality is comparable to the other phones we've talked about.
Yeah.
Again, good for social media, everyday use.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like the Redmi 9 is like a nice balance.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Between the performance, the battery, the screen.
Good all-rounder.
Okay, cool. All right, let's move on to the last phone.
Okay.
The Samsung Galaxy M02.
The Galaxy M02.
Yeah. So everyone knows Samsung.
Right.
Big brand name. But how does this phone stack up against these other budget phones?
Yeah, so this one's a little bit of a mixed bag.
Okay.
It's got a smaller screen.
Okay.
Only 6.5 inches.
Yeah.
And the processor is a little less powerful than the other phones we've talked about.
Hmm.
And the battery is also a little bit smaller, only 5,000 milliamp.
Okay.
But one thing it does have going for it is the software.
Okay.
It's running Samsung's One UI,
which
is known for being really user-friendly.
Okay. So maybe not the best specs.
Right.
But the software is pretty good.
Yeah, I think the software is one of its strong points.
Okay, cool. Is there anything unique about One UI that might make people want to choose it?
Yeah, so One UI is really focused on one-handed usability.
Okay.
So if you're someone who uses their phone a lot with one hand, it's really well designed for that.
Okay.
And it also looks really nice. It's got a really clean aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it comes with a bunch of Samsung apps and services like Samsung Pay and Bixby, which is their voice assistant.
Yeah.
Some people might love those features. Some people might not.
Yeah, it depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. So we've got all these phones.
Yep, 4 phones on the table.
They all have their strengths and weaknesses.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, when you're looking at budget phones, the price is usually like the most important thing.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So can we talk about like how much these phones cost?
Yeah, let's break it down.
Yeah.
So the Lava Z2 Max, as we said earlier, is about ours.
Yes.
$7,799.
Okay.
Which is a really good price for what you're getting.
So the Z2 Max is sitting at like $7,799.
Yeah.
What about that Realme C12?
So the Realme C12 is actually a little bit cheaper. Usually you can find it around ours, 7,000.
Okay, so you save a little bit of money.
Yeah, a couple hundred rupees.
Yeah.
But you are getting that slightly less powerful processor.
Yeah.
And less RAM.
It's always a trade-off, isn't it?
Yeah. Always got to find that balance.
Okay. So what about the Redmi 9?
The Redmi 9 kind of falls in between the other two.
Okay.
Depending on how much RAM and storage you get.
Yeah.
You're looking at maybe like ours, 7,200 to ours, 8,000.
Okay, so somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, right in the middle.
All right, and then lastly, that Samsung Galaxy M02.
Yeah.
Is that one the cheapest?
So that one is usually the cheapest of the bunch.
Okay.
Yeah, you can often find it for under ours, 7,000.
Wow, okay.
So if you're really on a tight budget, that's definitely the most affordable option.
Yeah.
But you are making some sacrifices in other areas.
Yeah.
Like we said, smaller screen, a little less power.
Yeah.
Not as much battery.
Okay, so here's a thought I've been having.
Yeah.
Like, with phones changing so quickly.
Yeah.
Is it even worth getting a budget phone?
Yeah.
Like, won't it be outdated really quickly?
That's a great question. And it's easy to get tempted by those fancy new flagship phones.
Right.
But honestly, for most people, a budget phone can last for a few years.
Yeah.
As long as you take care of it.
Yeah.
And let's be real.
Yeah.
Do you really need the absolute latest and greatest technology?
Yeah, I guess not.
These budget phones can do pretty much everything you need them to do.
Yeah.
And by the time your budget phone does start to feel a little slow, there will be even better budget phones out there.
That's true.
So you can just upgrade again.
Yeah.
It might actually be smarter to get a budget phone and upgrade every few years.
Yeah.
Than spending a ton of money on a flagship that's going to be outdated pretty quickly anyway.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
What I think is really interesting about this whole deep dive.
Yeah.
Is that it shows how good budget phones are getting.
Yeah.
Like the Lava Z2 Max.
Yeah.
They're not just cheap alternatives anymore.
Yeah.
Can actually compete with the more expensive phone.
Totally.
In a lot of ways.
So yeah, I think we've learned a lot about the Lava Z2 Max.
We have.
And all these other budget phones.
Yeah, it's been a good deep dive.
We've looked at the specs, the features, the software, all that good stuff.
Right, and at the end of the day,
yeah,
the best phone for you is the one that fits your needs, your budget, your preferences.
Exactly. So do your research. Compare the options.
Yeah.
And choose wisely.
You might be surprised by what you find out there in the budget phone world.
Awesome. Well said. Okay. So that is it for our deep dive into budget smartphones.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.
Stay curious and keep exploring.
And remember, sometimes the best value comes in the most unexpected places.
We'll catch you all on our next deep dive.